Hi, everyone. Today we are going to talk about meditation. And as we continue to progress and talk about, different elements to learning how to read energy and how to shift it, this is a huge part of it is figuring out what your meditation style is like. I will share with you my opinion and my observation through my experiences. So, that being said, let's just jump into it. So, I have a very interesting relationship with meditation. Um, Before I used to meditate, um, or I even got into it, I was a very different person. And I had this image in my head of what I thought meditation was like, what it was supposed to be, the what the type of person it was for, and let's just say that I was a very we can say closed-minded, we could say closed off to it, um, and yeah, I just thought it was for I thought it was some hippy dippy shit. I was like, I'm a meat eater, I'm too high strung for this peace and love shit. Even though secretly deep down I really was all about it. But when things started shifting for me, I had a very strange experience, and I something internally told me that I needed to work on meditation. And it was weird for me because it was like a super um loud message. um for me, I have quite a few Claire gifts. Um, the Claire audience. I I don't hear things in the way that you are hearing my voice now. I hear it in like dialogue that goes through my head, where it's a very clear message. But I don't hear tone. And I didn't realize, I didn't realize that that was a thing. Like, I thought that that was just like, your inner conscience, speaking to you, not realizing that, hey, these are actual messages. Um, and I just heard, I was like, you need to do some meditation. And for me, I was all like, you know, what the fuck? Um, but I listened and things just started to fall in place for me. Um, I found music that I would be able to listen to, and it allowed me to tune out everything. Um, but let's pause for a second and backtrack. Um, I had to figure out what type of meditation worked for me. And I thought meditation was like, I don't know if it's like a stereotype where you just have you envision that person who is in minimalist clothing, all white with like the loose jammy bottoms, and they're just sitting Indian style like this with like that one stick of incense in the sand with like an picturesque ocean backdrop where they're listening to, nothing but the waves crash. I would try to sit in silence, and I just would start listening to everything. And then my brain just would be like, it's a cricket, it's the wind, leaves are rustling, and it's like I became hyper aware of my surroundings where I was listening to everything but what was happening on the inside. And I struggled with it because I just thought that that was like the only type of meditation. So I realized that music is a tool for me, and somehow I came across this song. It's about a 10-minute song, and there's no words, and I was responding to it. Um, and what does that mean? It means that the music was able to block out everything that was like my surroundings, and I could actually go in, and shit just happened. And what? It became like not like, but it became my meditation song. And I still use it to this day. That's the type of meditation that I teach my clients. Um, and yeah, I mean, that's kind of how I got into it. And learning about the different types of meditation, I learned that my style of meditation is something that I can only do once a week. In the very beginning, when I started having like experiences, like huge experiences for the first time, it was almost kind of like I had to learn boundaries. I was I don't want to say that I got addicted, but it was like, oh my God, I want to do this again. Like, and I would try to meditate the next day, and it was just like my energy levels were tapped. And I learned that with my style, I could only actively, I mean, I should only be doing it once a week because the amount of information that gets shared with me, you have to digest it. You know, there's only so much information they can share you with you in that moment, um to things to work on, you know. um so there are different types of meditation where, you hear about some people doing like a 10-minute mindful meditation where you're able to just I think it's when you're releasing things you don't need to carry, or you're allowing things to come to the forefront of your mind. Um, which those are all beneficial things, and it's up to the individual to find out, what works for them and what their purpose for it. Um, I call my style meditation, but I think it could also, the word channeling could be used, because I am opening up myself and I am channeling messages through spirit. So, what does it look like, when or I should say, when I'm about to start to do one of mine, or what it is that I'm teaching my clients? So, it looks like, first you have to set the space. You know, it's important to meditate in a clean space. You can't meditate in a dirty area because your mind is just always looking at things of like this needs to be done, or it distracts you from what it is that you should be doing into something that um, it doesn't. Mess doesn't bring harmony. So you just constantly go towards things that just, I want to clean that, whatever. So once you have a clean space, it's also important to cleanse the energy of the space, which is important, to sage. If you are going to open yourself up, personally, and what I teach, is that you want to make sure that energetically you have a clean slate. Like, you don't want anything in your space that shouldn't be there. So after you have a clean space, both physically and energetically, then you want to think about what your intention is. Are you trying to actively release what you don't need to carry? Are you trying to allow things to come up to the forefront of your mind so that way you can be aware of things that are standing out, whether it is behavior patterns in people, whether it is, work related issues or even big life changing, decisions. Um, is there any areas of concern that are coming up? For me, I what does that look like for me? Um, I am so used to the unexpected that basically I just go into it and be like, cool, this is what we're going to do. I set the space, I ground my energy so that way you want to feel tethered. And for me, I have a meditation altar where I anchor my energy to. And then I ground my space because that I you want to feel grounded because when you open up, you can feel sometimes like you're not in control. And it's a very bizarre feeling and it can be very uncomfortable when you first start doing it. I mean, when you first start doing it, it can be uncomfortable, even for me, and I've been doing it for years at this point. Um, it just depends on, I guess, what energy you're engaging with, and there's a variety of factors. We'll leave it at that. Um, but when you go through the proper steps, you're always setting yourself up for success in that way. So when I do that, I just begin to open myself up and things start happening. I start getting direction of what it is I should be doing. Because my main psychic gift, Claire gift, is all about feeling. It's interesting. I just start feeling of like, okay, where am I being directed towards? Um, what else? What else? What else? Setting the intention, setting boundaries of the energy that you want into your space. Um, you want to make sure that those that as you start to open up, that you are giving permission to the energies. You can call it your spirit guides, your higher self. um, some people will channel archangels, but you always want to deal with a higher vibration because they are there to help you. Lower vibration, that might be family members that have passed, and lower vibration isn't necessarily, it doesn't mean it's a bad thing. um but what, it is not a bad thing. They just are still, they have their own lessons to learn versus, when you have your spirit guide, they are there um to support you throughout your entire incarnation. And when you're dealing with, higher energies like archangels or uh deities are there for a reason. They just have a very different energy. um but they are definitely there to support you, and it's just a very different feeling versus a lower vibration. I will use an example. um I have actually both my grandfathers I wasn't close to, and it stems from choices that they made in their life, and it also might be generational things, not to make excuses for them, but you know if they were to step forward in my space while I'm opening up, to be honest, I don't really need or want them there. They had their own lessons to learn while they were here. And, you know, why do they need to engage? So we just set boundaries. So, but you could have family members that have crossover, and sometimes family members who cross over, or loved ones, I should say, they can become our guardian angels. And there's a difference between spirit guides and guardian angels, where spirit guides are our guides versus, guardian angels will step in and they will look out for us and support us throughout the rest of our life. Who else? What else? So, what does meditation do for us? So, for those of us who are sensitive, who identify as an empath, or if you if you can take a moment, Excuse me. And think inward. I want you to think, what is your intuition like? Do you listen to it and do you act on what you hear? Or do you hear things and don't act onto it because of whatever reason? You know, um, Regardless of, what your answer is, what happens when you start to meditate is that you think of it like working out. When you go to the gym, you're working out your muscles and you get stronger over time. It's the same thing with meditation, is that you are strengthening your intuition and things start to come up for you. um the more you receive messages, the more you feel empowered to act on them. And it's interesting when you start getting validation, when you start getting messages, and then, the validation comes out later down the line that confirms that what you're hearing is legit. So, and even if you don't identify as an empath or intuitive, you still are setting the space to allow things to come to the forefront of your mind, and you become more aware of, choices that you're making, choices that other people are making. You become aware of what your feelings are, what those feelings are attached to, behaviors, or behavior patterns in other people, what makes you feel good, what doesn't make you feel good. These are all important aspects to our everyday life. And you, uh, important aspects, but things become better once you become aware about it and once you gain confidence of knowing what you're hearing and how to act on it. So, so what? What can you expect? Um, you can expect a lot of positive stuff. Things, I mean, I can't say exactly how it's going to work out for you because we are all living with different circumstances. Um, but you will have some really amazing days where healing in areas that, one, you didn't know was possible, or you might get healing in areas that you didn't even think you needed healing in. Um, some days can be rough. What does that mean? Rough can look like when, say, we have some things that need to work on ourselves. And one thing that I've learned is that spirit sometimes, at least for me, I'm going to just assume that this is that way with everyone once you develop a relationship with your spirit guide, is that sometimes they will go to you and hold up a big fat mirror, and it's not done in a hurtful way. It's done in a productive way, because uh, they will be like, this is what you need to take a look at, because if you want to be better, or if you want to improve these circumstances, then this is what you need to work on. And sometimes, the truth can hurt, because it's you're touching on sensitive subjects. But when you start making those changes, just really beautiful things can happen. And even on like a surface level, even if you are releasing things that you don't need to hold on to, whether it be interactions with certain people, whether it be coming to terms with relationships ending, whether it be platonic or romantic. And it doesn't even have to be ending, it could just be shifts are happening. And you have to make choices that are right for you. And it's scary. A lot of us are stuck in, where what's the right word for that? We're stuck because we are familiar with our circumstances. And sometimes we're going to talk about abusive relationships for a second. A lot of people wonder, I think we've all heard stories or interviews where, uh, the interviewee will ask the abused woman, "Why didn't you get out? Why didn't you just leave?" And when you are the abused, the really mind fuck is that you are familiar with it. And it can be a lot scarier to go out into the unknown than it is to just stick with what it is that you do know. And with meditation, you break those habits. I feel like I just totally got sidetracked off of something, but what you can expect, there's a lot of healing that can happen, a lot of changes that can be made, a lot of awareness into things that maybe you weren't necessarily wanting to touch, um, and support. I think support is probably the biggest one because when you open yourself up to meditation, you're just opening up yourself to energies that are there to support you, that want to help you, and they are sharing that information with you so that you can make changes and lead a better life. And that's that. You know, I hope that I could share some insight into what meditation has done for me and what it can do for you. And I think by having this conversation, it hopefully will make you look at it a little bit differently, as I once did, where it's not about sitting and it can be, and if that works for you then that's great, but you know, I have a very active brain and sometimes I need to learn how to tune everything out so I can go in. And I hope that if there are any questions that I can answer it. And yeah, I hope you have a good day. I hope that this was a interesting and fun conversation and to be continued. Bye.